But I do know that the Lord is prompting me to urge us to get ready for that great and dreadful day.
Welcome to Searching Isaiah. I'm your host, Randy Brown. This will be a short series of insights on Isaiah for those who desire to have eyes to see and gain the spirit of prophecy in these end times. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome back to another week's edition of Spiritual Survival. My son, who edits these episodes, has asked me again and again to smile and to try to be warm and friendly, and so I'm making my I'm trying to do that today. So hasn't always come naturally to me, but there you go. Hopefully that was a bit of a smile. All right, so the place I want to go today has been influenced a little bit by some of the current events that we're seeing with these earthquakes and tsunami warnings and volcanoes, and and it's caused me to kind of go on and do a little bit of a search of about tsunamis. And what I've learned has been really, really insightful and enlightening and terrifying. Um, and so I want to tie a couple things about tsunamis into what we're going to talk about today. And I'm going to ask a couple of questions to kind of start us off. And I'd love it if, like always, if you'd pause and go to the comment section and share your comments. The comments from our last podcast were just wonderful. Really, really appreciate it. So my first question is, what does it mean to search? What does it mean to you? We know that Christ in 3 Nephi 23 verse 1 said, he gave us a commandment to search the words of Isaiah. For great are the words of Isaiah. And so what does that mean to you? I think some people are concerned that, I know lots of people who aren't searching Isaiah. They're really, really good people. you know, um, Not everybody's inclined towards that, but again, what does it mean to you when you hear those words from the Savior to search the words of Isaiah? And so, as I've been thinking about that, I've tried to put it into perspective a little bit. So, if you have lost a child, one of your children was lost and was missing, what would the word search mean to you in that instance? If you knew that there was a pearl of great price somewhere in your house worth millions or even billions of dollars, what would searching mean to you in that instance? What if you were sitting in an endowment session and you knew the Lord was waiting for you behind the veil, and what he was asking of you is to search the knowledge that you would need to rend that veil and find him. And we have President Nelson promising us that in our discipleship we will find Jesus Christ in the temple. What does searching mean to you in that instance? And what if it meant having the advanced warning and the advanced knowledge to save your family from being swept away in a tsunami? Would searching mean to you in that instance? So yeah, pause the video for a second and go share your thoughts on that. So another question. I mistyped here. It should be, what is the Book of Mormon? What is the Book of Mormon warning us about regarding America? This warning is over and over again in the Book of Mormon. And essentially, he's saying that this land is a promised land. It's a land that if you're going to live and prosper upon this land, there's a covenant. It's a covenant land, keeping this national covenant where Christ comes first, or being swept off. And the Book of Mormon's given us evidence of that happening. This sweeping off of the land of America. And do we really believe that applies to our day? I believe that when the Savior said, "Search the words of Isaiah," he was speaking to us, not necessarily the people, at that time, but he was. The whole Book of Mormon is for us in the exact time we're living in, this critical time. I believe that this is why we're commanded to search Isaiah. And I think it's one of the evidences of that is that 30% of the book of Isaiah is in the Book of Mormon. And what a disservice we do to ourselves if we don't search those Isaiah chapters in the Book of Mormon. Some of the most critical parts of Isaiah are included in the Book of Mormon. And Nephi uses Isaiah to prophesy and to prepare us against this sweeping that he saw coming. The reason he's included all this, he and Mormon and others have included this sweeping paradigm is because they saw it happening in our day. And and so Nephi, rather than necessarily saying it just in plain language, he used Isaiah and Isaiah's language to warn us. And so what does it mean? I'd love for your comments on this. What does it mean to be swept off? And do we as Latter-day Saints even really believe that could happen in our day? So last week we looked at America, and we looked at the story of Amalickiah and Captain Moroni, and the sweeping off that, how it's a type of this sweeping off of the celestial level people in preparation for a Zion or terrestrial level people. Today we want to look at the entire world. So the Book of Mormon is really geared. They picked the 100th part of their history because they saw what was going to happen on the American continent. And Isaiah chose a part of his history to use as types for what will happen, this sweeping off of the entire world. And so this week I stumbled across some YouTube videos. One of those was about the tsunami that happened in December of 2004 in the Indian Ocean, where in just the course of a few minutes, 230,000 lives were just swept away. And unfortunately, they had no warning system. And so as I saw that just felt like this is actually kind of a type of what Isaiah is telling us and what the Book of Mormon is telling us. So I want to go to just a video that I saw on YouTube, and to give you kind of an idea of the size of tsunami waves. I don't know if these are necessarily tsunami waves, but as I was studying about it this week, I saw that their typical ones could be up to 90 feet high. And I've seen other videos that show that it can actually be way, way bigger than that. But we'll just watch a few seconds of this. And I ask you, as you look at this, at the size of these waves, to maybe rather than just think of them as waves, think of them as all of a sudden invading armies are upon us here in America and upon nations across the world without warning, without preparation. um, these armies, this alliance of the king of Assyria, is not only sweeping across America, bringing just incredible devastation. That was another thing I think that really stood out to me, is the devastation that is left after that, like that tsunami in the Indian Ocean. Um, and it's just incredible, the destruction that they can bring. So um, anyway, hopefully that little video was helpful. This is why I think studying Isaiah is so important. I mean, I know there's lots of really, really good people who aren't doing it. Um, and I don't think it matters whether you're a good person or not. If you're unaware of danger that's coming, you're susceptible to that danger. And so in the scriptures, there are two beasts that we're warned about in these end times. The first one is something that Nephi started to tell us about, and then was told not to talk about it any further, that John would talk about it. And this is a big part of the book of Revelation, which is the whore of Babylon. The whore of Babylon is the first beast. And some people refer that to, as the tears, the secret combinations that have overtaken our country. And Nephi refers to it as the church of the devil, or the great and abominable church. But it's these these organizations that seek to destroy freedom, um, typified in the story we looked at last week by Amalickiah. And then the second beast is the king of Assyria, this antichrist tyrant, referred to in Daniel as a horn. Horn, the meaning of horn is power. And John tells us about this beast with 10 horns. But then Daniel tells us a little bit about another horn who comes along and actually double crosses the first beast, the whore of Babylon, and completely takes her out in this massive, massive destruction. And then the king of Assyria actually hijacks the beast, and this becomes the second beast that is referred to in the scriptures. And so it's my belief that Nephi saw this. This is what Nephi saw. This is what Nephi was not allowed to talk about in his manner of plainness. And so I think what Nephi saw that he wants to warn us of, and the reason he included all of these Isaiah chapters, is this king of Assyria, this second beast that's going to come. We've looked at some of the code names: flood, fire, etc. And he hates the first beast, and he double crosses it, and he with this flood of fire, he destroys the Babylon category that we've looked at on our ladder to heaven. It happens first in America and then spreads over the entire world. At least that's how I understand it. And so this king of Assyria completely sweeps off this Babylon category. And so this is a really good word search might be to do a search for sweep or swept off. So the telestial level, which is referred to as the whore, the tares, the great and abominable church, is going to be swept off. I wanted to share a number of years ago. I had a dream about a tsunami. I had a dream. I was in a town near a beach, and these waves, just massive, I would say 90 feet tall or higher, just started sweeping over this town and just completely flooding it. And being there was it was a very vivid dream and very, very terrifying. But the king of Assyria not only completely wipes out, sweeps off this category, but in the Zion Jerusalem level, the covenant keepers, um, who are not quite at the elect level, they're going to, although not wiped out by it, they're going to experience bondage and maybe having to be in places of hiding and places of refuge as this the effects of this king of Assyria sweep. And we're going to look at some verses today, how it talks about this flood that comes right up to the neck. So it not only washes away Babylon, it comes right up to the neck of these covenant keepers as they wait for someone to come with empowered with fullness of priesthood to actually deliver them from it. And Sunday in church, we sang this hymn, and I just thought, oh my goodness, this is exactly, what I want to talk about. And sometimes we maybe skip over some of the things in our own hymns, or not even realizing what they're talking about. But I'll kind of hit some of the verses here. Israel, Israel, God is calling thee from lands of woe. Babylon, the great is falling. God shall all her towers o'erthrow. And so God is using, the Lord is using his left hand, this king of Assyria, to overthrow Babylon. Come to Zion, ere his floods of anger flow. And I guess I'm obsessive about this, but I colored it in gray to symbolize the king of Assyria. Come to Zion, ere his floods of anger flow. And as we skip down to verse 3, Israel, angels are descending from celestial worlds on high. We've learned about this, these seraph level beings, and to man their power extending, that the saints may homeward fly. And I believe this is talking about partly what happens at Adam-ondi-Ahman after we've been through surviving these floods of anger flowing. We're being empowered to come to Zion, to be within the walls of protection. And again, this is from, I think, our second episode, showing how Isaiah uses all these code names to describe this king of Assyria, Babylon, this tyrant that will be the left hand of the Lord. And we've looked at these end time servants who are, this is our birthright to be amongst these, and the one who leads them, the Lord's servant, and his purpose is to bring the Jacob Israel category out of this, bring them to higher ground, bring them out of this place where they can be completely swept away, and bring them not only to Zion, Jerusalem, where the water symbolically will be right up to our neck, but also bring us to Christ at a level, the son servant level and seraph level, where we can be absolutely protected and participate in bringing others out. And so I want to look at some sequence of events in that Isaiah warns us about. And so one of the reasons I think searching Isaiah is so important is that we don't just have our heads in the sand thinking, oh, cool, the prophets talked about the second coming, and maybe we'll see that in our day. I think it's very telling that he talked about the great and dreadful day that he feels inspired to warn us about. And I think these are things we really need to be awake to. So this is the verses are marked over here. So this is from Isaiah 8, verses 7 through 8. It talks about a calamity that engulfs the world. So now we're not just looking at America being swept off. We're looking at the entire world. Can we even imagine this? It's going to be on the bad side. It's going to be, beyond our comprehension, I think, right now. But the miracle side as well, perhaps beyond our current comprehension. And then it comes like a flood from the north. And north is important because north is always a description of this this destructive force, this king of Assyria. God cleanses the earth by fire and war. So, people who won't search Isaiah, they're just completely, it's like a tsunami hitting and just not even being aware that it's coming and doing nothing to keep you and your family safe from it. One of the videos I watched this week was a woman with her family on the beach when this tsunami hit in the Indian Ocean, and she was holding her camera, pointing it out towards a wave and saying, "Look at these waves that are coming in. Wow, these are bigger. There's usually not waves here in this bay." And her kids are down playing on the beach, and the the water has pulled out, which is a sign of a tsunami coming. And then all of a sudden, this water was just flooding in and getting closer and closer, and pretty soon they're realizing, wait a minute, this is not right. And she's still holding her phone, and they start running, and the water's coming up, and she's actually run into the town, and water sweeping up through the town. I mean, it was it was just so telling of how unprepared um, and I think this is such a type of what's going to strike the world. And we have such a blessing that Isaiah has warned us, and I think it's so vital for us to be aware of this. God cleanses the earth. So we have the term the world and the earth by fire and by war. Few of the world's inhabitants survive. I think that this is something that maybe as Latter-day Saints, if we haven't, searched, that maybe we're reticent to believe this, that few of the world's inhabitants survive. So a question I want to pose is, how will you survive or abide the day of his coming? How will you warn and protect your family in this time? Still, this is from Isaiah. This is the full verse, 7-8. Therefore, will my Lord cause to come up over them the great and mighty waters of the river, the king of Assyria in all his glory. He will rise up over all his channels and overflow all his banks. So we know what this is talking about. This is very vivid. He will sweep, there's that word again, sweep, into Judea like a flood, and passing through, reach the very neck. So it'll reach all the way up to even affect the Zion Jerusalem level people. And this will be the descent phase we've been talking about. His outspread wings will span the breadth of your land, O Emmanuel. This is from Abraham's apocalyptic commentary. Isaiah portrays Assyria's invasion of the land of Emmanuel as a new flood. The neck leaves the head, Zion Jerusalem, where a remnant of Jehovah's people awaits deliverance. So even those of us that are covenant keepers, that that this will be a descent phase to prepare us to see if we will prove loyal under all conditions. In an end time context, Hezekiah serves as a type of Jehovah's servant, while the arch tyrant's outspread wings may allude to modern warfare. And so again, modern warfare will be used and it will come like this tsunami sweeping the earth. So again, the Zion Jerusalem people, even the covenant keepers, will abide the day, but be definitely affected by the bondage that it causes. Isaiah 14:31, wail at the gates, howl in the city, utterly melt away, you Philistines. From the north shall come pillars of smoke. That term's pillars of smoke is really, I think, an important phrase when we think of the capabilities of modern warfare. And no place he has designed shall evade it. Apocalyptic commentary. The enemies of Jehovah's people have cause to wail, howl, and melt away when destruction comes from the north. And so this is the Babylon category. They're going to be, the core of Babylon will be wailing and howling and melting away when this destructive force comes from the north, which it means the king of Assyria. From beyond the horizon has conspired by the king of Assyria, Babylon. The pillars of smoke form a word link. And this is a real important thing in Isaiah, is to realize that Isaiah is linking words throughout Isaiah. And he's linking it to verses that talk about the mushrooming clouds of smoke. And, as we understand modern warfare, we can, it's probably pretty obvious that nuclear warfare is going to be taking place. So mushrooming clouds of smoke that billow upward when the earth is scorched and people are but fuel for the fire. So this is kind of the bad news, and things like tsunamis are bad news, and it's better that we know about them before they hit. In Jehovah's day of judgment, while the wicked of the world suffer the fire and smoke of destruction, Jehovah protects his repentant people beneath his cloud of glory. We're going to talk about what is this cloud of glory under which the Lord is going to protect his covenant people that are repentant, that are born again, that have come to Christ. And so this is probably very imperfect, but this is how I make sense of things. So again, this order of events that I try to put into visual form. So we have America, we have Israel, and the Lord tells us in the Doctrine and Covenants, upon my house shall it begin. And the Book of Mormon warns us about what's going to happen in America. And so we see that this whore of Babylon, the secret combinations that have gotten above us, and I think we're just right on the brink of what the whore of Babylon's got coming. And this is that first beast that we talked about. And in this process, the land of America will be swept clean in preparation for what he has for this country. It's Zion, the American continent, and the United States of America is the place of the New Jerusalem, a place where we will be protected under this cloud of glory during the worst time the world has ever seen. And it's, excuse me, about this time that the stout horn, this Antichrist figure, will betray the whore of Babylon, take it over and destroy it, and then, but the stout horn will be thwarted here in America, and because Zion cannot be defeated. But the king of Assyria continues as this second beast right up until the time of the second coming, and continues this time of the wrath, this last 3.5 years of the tribulations, or the great tribulation period. But the good news for the covenant keepers, once we've made it through our test here, we are going to be protected throughout this time of the wrath, and this is when many will be called to go out in power and great glory as the 144,000, as kings and queens, fulfilling this promise to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob to restore the house of Israel, to take the gospel back. This is the time when the time of the Gentiles comes to an end, and the fullness goes back to the house of Israel. Isaiah 1:7, your land is ruined, your cities burned with fire. Can we even imagine, entire cities being destroyed? Your native soil is devoured by aliens. These would be the invading alliance of armies under this king of Assyria, laid waste at its takeover by foreigners. Okay. And so in these verses, we see the terms like land, invasion, fire, aliens, and Zion. When it talks about land, it's talking about the promised land, at least in part, the promised land that has these covenant blessings of protection upon it. And that's been the United States of America, this land that God has protected under these covenant blessings. But we'll see this invasion where these covenant blessings are removed. And we'll just be completely vulnerable, completely unprepared for this tsunami that will come in. And it's described not only as flood, but as fire, especially when it's talking about the destruction of the tares, as this division takes place between the wheat and the tares, and the five wise virgins, the five unwise virgins. The tares will be bound and will be burned with fire. And then it talks about aliens. This is this Assyrian alliance that sweeps over the world. Its only goal is to annihilate. And we've seen types of this, in our past with, tyrants like Hitler. And then Zion, the one place on the earth that the king of Assyria cannot conquer. And it's so glorious that we know about this and that we have these promises, and to be saints, or at least becoming saints in these latter days through our covenants, through our temple blessings. Isaiah 9:19, at the wrath of Jehovah of hosts, the earth is scorched, and people are but fuel for the fire. Men will have no compassion for one another. So with this, in some of these videos I watched about the tsunami that hit in the Indian Ocean, I think hit Thailand and hit a number of places. The thing that was so impressive was the compassion of the people. Aid came in, and everything was destroyed, and the help came to rebuild and bring in food and water and sanitary conditions. And but in this situation, there will be no compassion. Everyone will just be trying to survive themselves. So a very vivid and disturbing image is being painted for us. That I think this is why searching, I think, is so important. And you have to decide for yourself, I guess, at which level you're willing to search. This from Apocalyptic Commentary. Although the fire that burns them up is the king of Assyria, Babylon, Jehovah's anger and wrath, his fire and sword. And you can research those verses. The people's wickedness is the cause. Under the arch tyrant's scorched earth policy, moreover, compassion for others gives way to every man fending for himself. And that's where I think Isaiah said it very well when he said there's no compassion. So this will be kind of a homework assignment. Maybe pause this or make a copy of it. Go to these verses, and we're using again the Isaiah Institute version or translation of Isaiah. You can use the King James, not quite as clear to understand, where it talks. These are all these verses of the king of Assyria, shaking and terrifying the nations, exterminating entire peoples. He feigns peace and deceives the nations. He treacherously and unexpectedly attacks like a tsunami. His armies invade all nations. We just know America has this promise that it is the land of Zion, and there will be those of us who will rise up and make covenant under all conditions and prove loyal. And from there, the kings and queens will go out. Anyway, research those, take a look at that. This from Isaiah 8, though nations form pacts. So whether you have alliances with other countries, you have allies, it's not going to matter. Our only real ally has to be Jehovah. They shall be routed. Give heed, all you distant lands. You may take courage in one another, but shall be in fear. You may arm yourselves, but shall be terrorized. We can see how Isaiah is using these parallels here. That's part of the manner of prophesying amongst the Jews. Though you hold consultations, they shall come to naught. Though you make proposals, they shall not prove firm. And this is our rallying cry for those of us who keep covenant with God. God is with us. God is our protection. It's the power that flows through our covenants. So homework, review all the verses in that sequence of events I just showed you. I would recommend doing a scripture search of the word sweep or swept off. Another real good one is utter destruction. Definitely check that one out. See how often, especially in the Book of Mormon, that one is used. So I just want to end with this. I, the Lord, am bound when you do what I say. When you keep covenant with God, he is bound. His part of the covenant is absolutely sure, and it brings power beyond our comprehension. You keep the terms of the covenant, and I'm bound to keep my part of the covenant. I will be your God, and you will be my people. And this is tied to the wheat and the tares. If we aren't, God isn't a capricious or arbitrary God. He works within covenants. And those who have made covenants to him, he is bound to them. If we aren't bound to him legally through a covenant, he cannot step in and save us. Otherwise, he would be a capricious God by choosing to save one and not another. He treats all men equally. By law, and these are the Lord's words, by law I can only save you if you are bound to me. By law, if you are not bound to me, you have no promise. You're kind of on your own. And so is this why temples are sweeping the earth? So as many as possible can be bound to him, to prepare against this force that's going to sweep the earth. So what is his promise to us? His promise is that we will be gathered into garners, places of protection. We will be gathered to what's referred to as the place in Scripture. That's the New Jerusalem, a place we must go if we don't want to take up our sword against our neighbor. If you are not in covenant with the Lord, you have no promise.